Hello, and thanks for watching this short little demonstration of the security automation piece of the Bradford Networks Network Sentry endpoint visibility and security automation platform. My name is Greg Genta, and I'm a solutions architect at Bradford Networks. The purpose of this video is to just give a quick introduction to Bradford Networks and security automation, and then to give a quick demo of security automation in action. Hopefully you will see how taking advantage of Bradford Network security automation could dramatically reduce containment time after a threat has been identified. That is the main goal that we set out to accomplish with our security automation piece. So really quickly, Network Sentry is an endpoint visibility, security automation, and network access control solution. Network Sentry sits out of band. It does not require span ports or mirrored ports or tap ports. The physical or virtual appliance can sit anywhere on your network. It talks to the networking infrastructure equipment using SNMP, SSH, Radius, and other networking protocols. Using these protocols, Network Sentry is able to build a live database of every network connection across your entire network. We call this the live inventory of network connections. Network Sentry can also block an unknown host from connecting to your network. I'm not going to get into the network access control part of Network Sentry in this video. There are a lot of other videos that go into that piece of the software. But it is important to know that Network Sentry always knows the connection point of every device on your network. Okay, so on to security automation. What we're really trying to accomplish with security automation is a dramatic reduction of time from when a security threat is identified on a host to the actual containment of that host. To do this, Network Sentry will leverage alerts from security devices such as next-gen firewalls or IPS/IDS sensors. Let's take a look at a normal process that occurs at a lot of organizations when an infected host is detected by a security device. So let's say there is a host on your network that is trying to send command and control server traffic back to the home server there, back to the CNC server. So an infected host connects to your corporate network and attempts to call home. Now, if your next-gen firewall or your IPS/IDS is set up correctly, it's going to block that and block that data from reaching from actually exiting the network and reaching the command and control server. So then what happens is the security device will create an event, and maybe it will email that event to a security engineer. And then that security engineer has to go through all of these events that have occurred throughout the day. And then they have to review the logs that have been generated by all the devices as well about this incident. The security engineer has to analyze the data, and then typically the security engineer then has to create a ticket or give a call to the network operations center, and have somebody there then has to track down that host location. So they have to manually go through the CAM tables and ARP caches and manually go in and try to identify and then follow the trunk links through, or maybe it's L3 all the way through your network, and you can go in and identify the MAC address, but typically you have to follow everything from the router back down to the switch to be able to identify the actual port that that device is on. And then the network operations center has to determine the device criticality, like is this a device that they actually want to take some sort of an action against? And then they have to contain and disconnect or isolate the host. So this response, obviously talking about it, doesn't sound like a long or a large amount of time, but I actually was a security engineer at a university in Southern California, and this is a process I had to go through a lot in order to contain a device. I would get an alert that would be mixed in with all of the other alerts that I had that day. I would have to go through all of those and find ones that were that I deemed to be important. And then once I've decided, okay, so this is a bad infection and something I want to move on, then I would have to call one of the network engineers, or a lot of times I would just take care of it myself, and I'd go and track down the host, track down the location of the host, and then sometimes I didn't have the authorization to take that device offline, and I had to contact desktop support for that location. and then the desktop support person, then usually I'd create a ticket at this point, and this could be days now at this point. I'd create a ticket, and then I'd have to assign it to the desktop support, and then it'd be like maybe a day or two before somebody accepted that ticket, and then would get all the information that I had, and then typically would give me a call and reiterate all the information. And so in some organizations it could be faster, but typically I've seen it a week or more to contain a device, just when you have to go through all of that process and get a lot of people involved just to take a host offline. So again, I'm not saying that in your scenario it would take a week, but I've seen it take a week or more. I've seen it take less. But it could definitely take a good amount of time to contain a host that's infected. And during that time, that host could be infecting other hosts locally. It could be, there's a lot of different things that that threat could be doing on your network. Okay, so at the university I worked at, we did not have a network access control solution, and we didn't have a solution like Bradford Networks. So now let's put Bradford Networks in here, and let's look at security automation with Network Sentry. So since Network Sentry is in there, it knows the who, the what, the where, and the when of every device on the network. And let's say that an infected host now tries to attempt to call home, and again, my firewall or my IPS is going to block that, and the security device is going to send an alert directly to Bradford Networks, and of course your security device is going to send an alert to you as well. And we're not saying to not send alerts directly to a security engineer or network engineer. What we're saying is also add Bradford to the mix as well. So the Bradford appliance will get that alert, and then what it can do is it can automatically isolate a host. So if this is an infection that you've deemed to make some sort of automated action, we can do that. And so the Bradford appliance can automatically isolate the host for you, because it knows where every host is on the network. So it'll get the alert from the next-gen firewall or the IPS, and then it will be able to make an automated action. There's different automated actions that you can take, and I'll show you these quickly in the demo. But one of the main ones it could do is isolate the host. So we know where Bradford knows where that host is, and so it's able to isolate it pretty much immediately after receiving that critical alert. And then, of course, we can send an email to a ticketing system for follow-up. So we can send an email directly to the desktop team, the network engineers, and the security engineers, and say that Network Sentry isolated a host, and it can tell you the user of that host. It can tell you the host IP and MAC address, and it can tell you the port it's connected to, or the SSID, or even the access point that it's connected to, and even more information on that. So now that ticket is automatically generated. It will send an email to your ticketing system that will create a ticket with all of this information in there and give you the list of actions that it was ran. It can even send an SMS text to the user of the host that it isolated. So that is a process that you can have in there as well. And we can send a text message also to the administrator, to the security engineers, and so forth, when an automated action has occurred. And you can see that this process can dramatically take a process that can easily take a week and move it down to just seconds from an incident. So I'm going to show you this in the demo. We'll walk you through this process in a little environment here. So okay, so I have a small little environment. I'm actually have a little server running VMware ESXi, and I have my Network Sentry appliance on here. I have my AD server, which we're remoted into, and then I have a client that's connected wirelessly and a client that's connected wired connection into my little 10-port switch. Okay, so let's take a look really quick here. So we're going to be using this Windows 7 box here that Barney's logged into. And we're going to be using, so let's take a look at the actual networking hardware. So here's my little 10-port switch. And notice this device, or the Win 7 device is on this port right here, and he's on VLAN 1. When he gets isolated, when he does something, when when he's infected with a virus, he's going to be sent to my dead end VLAN, which is actually which is VLAN 15. So the current VLAN will change. In this scenario right here, VLAN 1 is a production segment and gets you out to the internet. So that's my switch there. Here's the Palo Alto firewall that I'm using in the environment here. And this is just a setup. This just will tell Network Sentry that it's going to be receiving security events from a Palo Alto firewall. And there's different types of security vendors that we support out of the box. And okay, so let's have a look at my security rules here. Okay, I have a catch-all here. And basically what this says is I want to see an alert from my Palo Alto firewall. Now, you can get more specific here. I'm just saying any alert I get from my Palo Alto I want to see. Obviously, this is a very small demonstration environment. You wouldn't necessarily put that you want to see every alerts from the Palo Alto generated in the security alarm log of Network Sentry. That's why you can go in with the severity, and you can put high severity or low severity here. But this you will use a catch-all to catch a bunch of different alerts that come through your environment. But you'll want to create more specific rules that will really filter through the content or the alerts that you want to see. So at a quick glance, you'll be able to see the important alerts that come through. And so you can get very granular on this. There's a lot of things you can do with this, but I'm just showing you a quick little demo of the powerful tool here of what you could really do with security automation in Network Sentry. So again, my filter here is I'm looking for anything from my Palo Alto firewall. So anything sent from my Palo Alto firewall will be a trigger to create an alert. And these alerts will be populated under logs and under security alarms. And I already have a tab here set up for this. So here's security alarms. So any alerts that come through here, I'll be able to see. Okay, so now let's look at the host here. So I'm using VMware so that you can actually see the console. It's really tough to show a demo of a host getting isolated because then you wouldn't be able to connect to that host anymore and I wouldn't be able to show it to you. So that's why the great thing with VMware here, you're actually seeing the console or the actual desktop of this machine here. So this is the Windows 7 machine, and he's connected to the internet. What I'm going to do is I am going to go to www.eicar.com, and this is a site that does anti-malware test files, so you can download these sites to test like your malware and test your next-gen firewall. This is actually used in the Palo Alto training. If you've ever attended the Palo Alto training, then they use this website. They may use it in other security vendors may do it as well. I'm just more familiar with the Palo Alto and gone through the training. So when I select this right here and save it, so this is a test virus here. And now let's go to my security alarm. Okay, so it will show the alarm that came through. And if I highlight here down below, it'll give me more information about this threat, view details. So you see that a threat came through. And so let's say that I've done my due diligence and I've decided that if I ever see this alert again, I want to make some sort of automated action against it. So I'm going to right click on here and I'm going to say create event rule. So I'm going to make a more specific rule than a catch-all rule of just seeing specific alerts. I'm saying if I ever see this alert again, I'm going to take some sort of automated action. So let's right click on here and I'm going to go create event rule. I am going to select, alert type, event description. I won't worry about severity and subtype. But I'll move those across and say OK. And let's take a more look in here. Yep, that's where I want. And I know with Palo Alto, I need to select the host IP as the destination in their alerts. And let's call this EICAR test trigger. All right, and say OK. And now this is going to be a test security rule. And then I'm going to want to take an automated action. So let's make an automated action. Now you can go in and manually create, well, there's actions you go in and manually create. Right now I have a disabled host action already created, so we're going to leverage that, but we'll go in and take a look at it. So let's look at, let's go to policy configuration and go to actions. And you could see, let's take a look at this disable host. So there's different actions you can set up and take when alert comes through. Notice there's the SMS user action, disable host, disable port, different command line scripts you could set up, send an alarm to a custom script, send an alarm to an external log host. I'm just going to disable the host here and click OK. And then under the security rules, need to go in, and it actually reads this kind of like an ACL, an access control list. So the more specific ones need to be moved to the top. So I'm going to move that up here so that this fires before the catch-all fires here. So basically what we're doing here now, when I go to the host, when I download that file again, Network Sentry will disable the host. So let's go to topology. I want to reopen this in a new tab. And if we look at switches, there's my port that he's connected to. Let's go to hosts and open this up in a new tab here. And let's look at online hosts. Okay, so Barney here it should get X'd out and disabled from the network, and we'll see it get put onto VLAN 15. Okay, so also let's do a persistent ping here. Okay, so now that's running there. Let me download this file, save. Okay, and so he should, okay, so let's watch here. This should get moved into VLAN 15. Okay, so you see the port has been disabled on the left with the X, and now it's on VLAN 15, which is a VLAN that does not get any services whatsoever. There's no routed interface on VLAN 15, so the device will just be isolated. And notice that he cannot get out to the internet, and the ping stopped. So let's also take a look at the host. So you can see the X through the host there. So now it's disabled. And let's take a quick look at the alarms. So I'm going to go to logs and security alarms. Let's open this in a new tab. So if I go to security alarm, you can see the EI card test security rule fired here, and an action was taken and it disabled the host. So now this host has been disabled. And so he can't, again, he still can't ping out. So what I want to do is so let's say I've done my due diligence and we've decided that it's okay to put this host back online. Maybe we ran some antivirus software or something on there and cleaned the host. Now I can right click on it and say undo action, and it says undo all actions taken from this alarm. Yes. And so my undo action will put the host back on to the network. So let's look at, okay, so let's refresh this. This should be back to VLAN 1. So he's back to VLAN 1. And let's go back to the host here. Let me just close this and open a new one. And ping 8.8.8.8, and he's out to the internet again. So he's back and able to browse. Let's go to MSN. So he's back out to the internet there. All right, let's see here. So That's just a really quick little demo of what can be accomplished there with Bradford Networks security automation piece. So that's everything that I wanted to show in this little demo. Here's my email address at the bottom there. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. Also, feel free to contact your sales rep for your area. Thanks for watching.